Okay, so I'm here today at the farm with
I'm Casey McGuire. Hi.
Casey McGuire and Tyler Underwood from Pattern Ag. If you guys have been watching for a while, you know that I seen them at the
Farmer to
FBN.
Farmer,
FBN. So they're here. They're kind of going to talk to us a little bit about what's going on, and we're going to kind of look at everything. They kind of want to look around. They haven't been able to. So I'm going to kind of tell them a little bit about what we do here, how we do things, and who knows, maybe they'll nitpick us. And
I don't know about that, but
yeah,
it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
So for my subscribers, even I got him filming, but for my subscribers, even one of you two asked a question, like how fast do we plant with this? How many acres a day do we do with this? Because that is the big thing whenever you're going from running the CCS seed delivery to running the ExactEmerge like what we're running. So we went from running the CCS seed delivery at about 6.5 miles an hour. Now the only way we got to the 6.5 was from putting precision planting on it. Now, we never did mess with the precision planting stuff. It was always we always messed with the precision planting stuff on the corn planter because speed, time, and everything always mattered whenever you were planting. Mm-hmm. So my dad would plant 20 hours a day. They'd work ground for 14 hours a day, and they could keep plenty ahead of them. Mm-hmm. The tables have turned with this planter. We're planting 24 rows at a time at 10 miles an hour. So when you're planting 10 miles an hour with a corn planter, you're covering a lot of ground.
You almost doubled your,
You've literally doubled it.
Mm-hmm. Gone up by 40% or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so whenever you do this, now not only do you have to worry about keeping groundwork in front of you, but you got to keep seed at the field. You got to keep fertilizer, but you got to keep the seed, you got to keep the fertilizer at the field. You got to keep all that stuff in the field.
It's like a completely different logistical game than it was before.
Yeah, this is just all hit us. It was just like, bam, it's in your face. Now you got this problem. Mm-hmm. Now you got the problem of, do I want to get a bigger tractor? Mm-hmm. My dad never thought in his lifetime that he'd ever have to get a bigger tractor to plant corn with. Mm-hmm. Because he was like, well, I got a 9420, or a 9410 at the time is what he was running. Yeah. He was like, I got plenty of horsepower to pull this thing. And now he's sitting here and he's contemplating, like, do I get a 9470 now to pull this planter, or do I have to go bigger than that even? Because this planter will bog down this 420 horsepower tractor.
That's crazy.
With 24 rows. Now just to think about that, there's people that run ExactEmerge with a 48-row corn planter. So you're running 48 rows at
10 miles an hour.
10 miles an hour. That's a lot of
ground.
That's a lot of ground.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we also have these 2Chem farm tanks on here. These 2Chem farm tanks that we put on here.
You're talking about the gray ones.
Yes, that's them 2 gray tanks right there. They're for fertilizer. Okay. Whenever you buy a planter, if you buy a planter with all that stuff on it already, it's going to come with a 500-gallon tank. That's 2 750-gallon tanks right there. John Deere will not allow you to have that on there. They do not like it at all. It takes away from your frame warranty, but we figured, we can weld a frame if we have to. Mm-hmm. So we've got it all kind of put up there. We've got our own plumbing, all this stuff we've done ourselves. So now
you're saying to customize it and everything.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can plant 270 acres with them tanks of seed, but you can only plant 250 acres with your fertilizer. So
there's that imbalance to a little bit there.
So now we're like, okay, now we got to get 2 150-gallon tanks to put on the end of the. So
that it matches up or whatever.
So now we're looking for 2 150-gallon tanks to put on the wings. Mm-hmm. Now that we think that we can take the weights off the end here, and then it'll match up.
Balance out or whatever. Yeah.
It'll balance out the weight. Mm-hmm. So that's our plan as far as that goes. But
and are you running starting fertilizer on everything? You putting down a little?
Now that goes back to depending on where you're at, what your ground type is, what seed you're planting. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that come into play with that. So and then also Sorry, I gotta walk around all the disaster. We used to only have one droplet that went down the middle, and we found that we was burning our seed doing that. So we went to the two on the sides, split up here, split
Yeah.
evenly. Now you're getting that droplet where you really need it on the
Where
side.
Yeah, where the roots are going to be and everything.
So what a lot of farmers also do though is they will put, I mean, you see this a lot with air seeders. They'll put fertilizer in one tank and then in the back tank they'll put seed, and they'll run them both together. So then you're putting them in the ground together. But that wouldn't work for corn and soybeans because corn and soybeans you would burn your plant. So that all just it's all kind of tricky game that you're playing.
Yeah.
Because you don't know until you try it. And I mean, we've had this on there for 3 years, 2-3 years, and we still haven't even used it.
Yeah.
So it's just one of the things.
Well, you got to be prepared for every type of season, or like,
Yeah.
Are you gonna have an early spring next spring where you can get everything in early, or that kind of thing.
That's
right?
the game you got to play.
So you have to have your equipment be flexible enough to react to whatever the weather throws at you.
Yeah. See, and then the main thing about this planter versus your old one is, your old one, it was just a plastic tube that drops your seed down. This one, if you guys can see here, it's got brushes. And them brushes spin around there and drop your seed in the ground. That is how they got the 10
So it's like a
mile an hour.
controlled.
That's how they got
Yeah.
the 10 mile an hour out of it. And they also had to upgrade your seed plate and everything else. I mean, if you look at that, that looks like a seed plate that nobody's ever seen before. So it's definitely interesting game to play. But the other thing about it is when you're looking at this thing, there can be mud packed in this thing because when this is down in the ground, your mud is hitting right there. So this picks up mud and it'll come around here and get up all in the brushes, and then you gotta take it all apart. And I'm just gonna say it's so complicated that right now I probably couldn't do it without a screwdriver. And that's the only downside that we found to it after last year. I mean, before we never knew what mud was. So.
2019, the year of mud.
Yeah, 2019 is the year of mud. So these two hooligans have been following me around all afternoon, asking me questions for the past 2 hours. So let's see if I can ask them questions for the next 3 hours.
There you go. Let's do it.
So these two people from Pattern Ag, they're here. They're kind of they wanted to kind of talk to me about like what they do and tell me more about what they do. I've talked to Tyler at the why do I keep wanting to say National Farm Machinery Show?
Farm Business Network.
Maybe that's because I'm going there, but Farmers Business Network, Farmer to Farmer in Omaha, we had kind of talked about like what they do and how they do it compared to like how it's already being done, because they're basically just doing soil sampling, but they're going deeper and more in depth with what they're doing. So it's interesting for me as a young farmer to want to learn more on stuff like this, because this is obviously going to be the way of the future. Because now we're not talking, I mean, before we was thinking, okay, technology is just what we're planting, how we're doing stuff. Now with what Pattern Ag is doing, we're turning that technology from planting to soil. I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff that just these two have talked about that can help us around here on a day-to-day basis. So I guess I better get my list of questions ready for him. So anyways, explain kind of like what Pattern Ag is. I kind of got an understanding of it, but there's people that are watching through that end that might not know. So
Yeah.
go ahead and hit me with like what your profession is, basically.
Sure. So I'm Tyler Underwood. I'm the regional sales manager in Iowa.
And I'm Casey McGuire. I'm the regional lead in the Eastern time zone, if you think about it that way. So I cover Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, would go up into Michigan if the time ever came for it. So Pattern Ag is a soil science company that's primarily focused on the living part of the soil. So we're really, we're not necessarily focusing on NPK, pH, organic matter, those kind of things, but really trying to unlock and discover and monitor, detect anything that's living in the soil. So if you think about things like pest pressure from rootworm, nematodes, and then think about seedling diseases, from anthracnose to Phytophthora, Rhizoctonia, any of those early season diseases that would affect corn and soybean plants. And then, we can even detect things that are more foliar in nature, such as gray leaf spot, Goss's wilt. You talked about frog eye as being a concern around here. We can look at white mold.
Nematode pressures.
Yeah, all that stuff. So Pattern Ag is able to provide growers a service that looks at, hey, what pathogens and pests do you have in a specific farm? And then also at what levels. So really can tell you, hey, over time you're getting less and less rootworm pressure, or you're getting more and more white mold in certain areas, or that kind of thing. So you can start to detect, track, monitor what diseases you're actually up against.
So would you say that over time, how long have you guys been researching and been doing this to figure out your kind of final game plan here as far as what's going on? How long has it taken you to get to where you are as a company?
So the way that we do our monitoring and detection is through DNA sequencing. So we're basically pulling all the DNA out of the soil and then scanning that DNA for known microbes that we want to look for. DNA sequencing has been around a really long time, so that's not necessarily a novel concept in the science world. We've been using it in medical, in the medical setting and that kind of thing for a long time. It just wasn't at a price point that was able to be kind of utilized in ag in a relevant way until very recently. Pattern has been in existence. This is going into our third season. So I would say that, you asked, how long did it take you to get to this final place? We're not at a final place. We're just kind of scratching the surface of what is in the soil and what we can unlock for farmers. So it's taken us kind of 3 seasons to calibrate and to feel like we have a commercial product that we can offer growers on a wide scale. But I don't anticipate any of us sitting back and cruising where we're at. I think we're very excited about all the rest of the things that we can continue to improve on for growers in the seasons to come.
So would you say that you guys are excited to keep growing and excited to keep learning about what else is there?
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact there is more things growing in the soil than what you guys even talked about. I mean, there's just from being in a high school biology class, I can tell you that there's more than what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you guys haven't even gotten to that final point yet.
Yeah.
So it's interesting for me for sure to kind of learn about all this.
Yeah, we like to use Casey likes to use the reference that, there are more microbes in a teaspoon of soil than there are stars in the sky. It's really the tip of the iceberg. And as farmers, we've done a great job of writing prescriptions for things above ground. And as you mentioned, we're really just beginning to understand how that microbial colony in the soil adds or subtracts from yield. So our goal really is to unlock that, help you make more informed decisions as a grower from the information we bring back to you.
So would you say that for me being a young farmer, would you say that that'd be kind of a good future for me as to be with something like what you guys are doing? I mean, as far as have you guys seen where people have went and treated this ahead of time and found massive results in what they've done? And
anytime that you can go from being reactive to being proactive always lends in a farmer's favor. The goal is that if you can go in and scout ahead of time, meaning if you go out and you map the soil and you know where your hot spots are at, the idea or the goal is absolutely plausible that you can go out and be prepared for an outbreak in the event that an outbreak happens, right? Everything revolves around the disease triangle. Having the right conditions, having a good host, and then having the pathogen present is really what determines when infections occur. So if you're able to be ahead of that and be prepared for that, that's a good thing as a farmer.
Yeah.
Think about the weather forecast, right? 50 years ago, you weren't able to do the 3-day forecast with any certainty. And you think about now, you live and die by knowing what the weather.
On that 3-day forecast, it can be a huge, basically telltale.
Yeah.
It can tell me what I'm going to be doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just because I'm simply watching the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so think about that, but from your whole season. You can know ahead of the season, kind of at least a baseline for what you're going to be up against. So like Tyler said, anytime you can be proactive and have insights into what am I going to face or what do I need to be prepared for is just going to make you that much better of a
So,
farmer.
I'm sorry I keep focusing on
Yeah.
the frog-eyed leaf spot, but
Thought on
that's
your mind.
that's one thing that's always amazed me. Like, frog-eyed leaf spot stays in the soil, for one. Like, we know that for a fact that it stays in the soil. And I never heard about being able to track it and see what it does until I had talked to Tyler about it.
Yeah.
So, do you guys see like where it might die off in the soil over years, or do you guys see where it just kind of grows and keeps getting stronger and stronger? What do you guys see coming out of that?
Well, you know that every living, breathing microorganism, you know, everything that's living has a DNA sequence. So whether it's living or dying, it'll come up in our test, right? The goal is to track that, to make sure that if you are controlling it or maintaining it is really the big key. Diseases can live in the soil for numbers of years. White mold, you look at things like nematodes, Pythium. I mean, they live there a long time for the right conditions to occur before they basically attack or show up on a crop. So the goal is to start tracking them, right? We know that this is a long-term strategy, and we know that chemicals and products and practices are going to get better. And the goal is that this whole sequence and this whole opportunity will bring those along as well.
Yeah. Well, it sure will be interesting to see like what comes out of us being around each other and kind of like it'll be interesting for sure to see. I mean, if we start doing research with stuff that you guys are doing too, and start kind of, I mean, like what I said earlier, whenever I was talking to you guys, we're always testing stuff. Like we're always testing new waters. Like this year, we got three different types of beans. We got Liberty, we got dicamba, and we got the new E3 bean, which is the what is that bean?
Enlist.
Yeah, the Enlist bean. I always call it the E3 bean because
You're not
that's just how you
You're
talk
right.
about it.
You're definitely right.
But we're testing this because we have to know what's going to work if, let's say, Monsanto loses the sponsorship or whatever, the partnership or whatever it is with the contract on the dicamba stuff, and it doesn't get approved again. I mean that leaves farmers with basically no
Less
other
options,
option
yeah.
but to go back to basically Roundup if they haven't tested this stuff and they don't know what to do. I mean, research and basically testing and trying to learn all this stuff comes from everywhere. I mean, it don't matter where you are; it comes from everywhere. It's not just at home. It's not just there. It's not just there. It's everywhere. I mean, everywhere around us, there's always research being done on something. So it's very interesting to know that you guys are researching this kind of stuff and looking into it and trying to find like what's under the ground. And so
Our tool really focuses on really fingerprinting each one of your farm fields, right? You know that you've got high producing, you've got farms that are low producing, you've got farms that maybe you don't know where they fall in that spectrum. Our tool really gives you the opportunity to identify problems and then help place solutions, right? You have a plethora of people that you work with. You work with some of the best chemical reps, some of the best fertilizer reps, some of the best seed reps. And what our tool helps you do is bundle all of those people together, and it helps you place and use the right practices to increase yield on each farm in each field. Overall, the tool is a great opportunity to benchmark your fields. You know, in our online tool, we've got the opportunity to show you pressures and loads per field across your entire operation. So you know which farms may need more attention than others, where it may need more application, or you can save applications on specific farms and fields.
So your guys are also online too. Okay, so you have a website too that does all this stuff. So you have this website, and it's basically you got a Google Maps to it. Am I right? It's got like a Google Maps.
It's got
kind of
a
thing.
map function, yeah.
A map
Yeah,
function. Like what? Yeah, but you get
Yeah.
what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
got a map function to it. So you got this map function to it, and then you guys are going in there and you're placing all this stuff on.
Yep, we use a yield map to reference. Yep,
Okay.
We use a tool to place the geo points, and that's how we track the points for sampling.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you think about it kind of from start to finish, the way the process works, or the way, you know, the kind of the service works is, you know, we take the fields and we pick specific points, areas of interest. We try to target some areas that are high performing, some areas that are low performing within a field, and make sure that we get a really representative sample plan to make sure that the results are as accurate and indicative for the grower as possible. We then execute the sampling very similar in practice to a standard soil test, like you can use standard probes and, all those kind of things. It goes to our lab. We then get results back, and all the results are in kind of that web portal, right? So it's not a piece of paper that we hand you.
Yeah.
It's an interactive tool that's really designed to be as detailed or as high level as the grower wants to be. So if you want to look, hey, just, you talked about farming an hour north to south kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you just want to get a high level look at, hey, my stuff that's over in this county, are the pressures generally higher here versus this stuff down here? Since you're farming such a big swath of geography, right?
Yeah.
But, do I have regional differences within my operation? And I just want to get a quick high level look at that, almost like a heat map, right?
Yeah.
Do I want to look and dive in on a specific field in a specific area for a specific disease? We can get you there too. Do you want to track things over time and see, are my disease pressures growing? Are my disease pressures lessening? Do you want to see field over field comparison? Do you want to overlay it compared to your yield maps? Like there's all sorts of different pieces of our tool that you can use depending on the way that you want to use the results.
And it's basically like kind of the things that we have now, but you're adding this in underneath it. I mean, it's basically coming in underneath it, splitting it up, and then putting it where it needs to be instead of just putting it over all of it and saying, well, this will work, so this is what we got to do. So not only now you're going to pay for also obviously like something to whatever you're going to pay for like soil sampling and all that stuff. But now you're saving money on chemical cost if you have to. You're saving money because you're adding more yield, or you're all this stuff kind of ties together, and it could increase your profit. And that sounds like it's your goal is to make profit for a farmer, and that's a good thing because a lot of companies kind of aim to shut that down now.
Our whole goal is to help farmers make more informed input decisions. So if you don't walk away feeling like that you now know your farm better, you can make more refined input decisions. You can feel really good about spending money where you need to, saving money where you don't. If those things aren't happening as a result of your partnership with Pattern, we're doing something wrong. Like that is the forefront of our, like in our minds, or our goal every day.
The bottom line is our tool helps you drive to those decisions. It's a base layer of data that you can start structuring hybrids, varieties, treatments, specific types of fungicides. All of those things are things that you're spending money on, and a lot of times it's a fair amount of money. So again, knowing where to spend and knowing where to save really impacts your bottom line.
Oh yeah, I know from having to buy chemicals and stuff that if you spend it in the wrong place, not only does it hurt you, but if you spend it in the right place, it helps you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's more or less just taking all that. Basically, instead of you're going out here and you're spending $20 an acre on fungicide across all your acres, now you're spending $20 an acre on, instead of doing it over a couple thousand, now you're doing it over a couple hundred because you know where it is.
That's correct. Or you're speeding up your timing. I mean, there are things that attack at all times of the season, and sometimes if they attack sooner, they rob more yield. And so being prepared, knowing where to look in your field and knowing when to go look is a big part of that.
Yeah. So basically what you said is that all you need is a soil sample and send it off. So could I have my agronomist that I already have soil sample, could I have him soil sample it and then use the same soil sample that he's using and send it to you guys?
So there's many different ways we can tackle it, and we try to make sure that we're kind of working with the grower to have it fit into their operation however they want it to be. So some guys kind of piggyback it with existing sampling efforts. Other guys will have their sampler go out but at a different point in the season because there's certain things they're looking for and it doesn't correspond with that directly right after harvest timing or whatever. We also can work with growers to pull cores in a variety of other ways as well. So I'm really proud of how flexible we are in that space to make sure that we can get the sampling done as efficiently and quickly as possible for the grower whenever they decide they want it done.
Okay. So, is there like a way that people can get a hold of your company or get a hold of you guys or?
Yeah. So, a couple good ways. www.pattern.ag. So pattern.ag is our website. It's got a whole host of information about what our tool can do, what our technology is, who we are. I'm Casey at pattern.ag. That's my email address. Shoot me an email. Like, you know, seriously though, we're always available to talk. Any growers who are interested in, you know, we're really looking to partner with growers who want to be a partner with us, right? To learn in this journey. You know, we talked about that we're only going to get better and better at understanding the living part of the soil over time. And so our goal is to find growers who are excited and motivated and who want to learn this stuff with us so that we can have a really awesome partnership for years to come. So anyone who even remotely thinks that this stuff is cool, come find us. We'd love to talk to you. And we did just want to offer, you know, Alex has been so gracious to give us this time today. We did just want to extend kind of a thank you to everyone who hung with us for this video. So anyone who mentions Alex or Eleanor Rush when they reach out to us, either at my email address or our website, can get 10% off any acres through the end of February. So feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to talk and appreciate that.
So there will also be like links in the description below with all kinds of emails and websites and all kinds of stuff. I'm sure I'll be able to find something. But yeah, definitely check them out. It's very interesting for me, especially for me being a young farmer. Like I've said plenty of times before, something like this is going to be very helpful for me in the future from the sounds of it.
Cool.
So
thanks for the time, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for letting us come out.
you guys are welcome. I'm having a hard time talking today, guys, so that's going to be all for today's video. I had a lot of fun with them. We walked around the farm here. I kind of gave them like a short little tour. They said that they might put it up on their YouTube. They have a YouTube channel, so we also went and shot pew pews for a little bit afterwards. If you don't know what pew pews is, well then, sorry. But anyways, that's gonna be all for today's video. I gotta put the sprayer up. I guess we'll see you guys in the next one. Remember to like and subscribe, leave a comment down below. Also remember to check them out. There'll be plenty of links in the description to them. So yeah, see you guys in the next one.